There you go. That's Tex-Mex.
Wow, I have not heard that in a long time.
That's legit right there.
That's my jams.
And then you slide.
Yep. You go
You
all the way
turn.
around the house while
And
you're
then you do
sweeping
this.
and mopping.
And then you do this.
Oh, I'm glad to hear I'm not the only one that dances when they're cleaning.
Oh, this is incredible. We're live, by the way. Alexa, stop. Good morning. Alexa, stop.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. We are rejoicing with La Mafia, Tex-Mex group from San Antonio, Texas.
Wow.
How's everybody doing up there, guys?
Doing good.
Welcome, everyone. Yeah, that brings back really old memories. And we really need to do a show to talk about Tejano music and the influence that it had on country music and how Tejano music is a mixture of country music and Czechoslovakian polka music. It's all intertwined. George Strait, all of his music is based upon Tejano music. Garth Brooks, a lot of groups. Wow, that's brought back memories. We'll tell you stories about when I was younger, and I don't know if most people this way. On Fridays, my mom used to, we would practice dancing, and we would practice dancing disco, but we'd also practice dancing Tejano music every Friday night so we could get ready for quinceañeras and weddings and all that stuff. Of course, you only dance with your cousins, so you never,
Yeah.
All right, well, long story. Welcome to Coffee and Ponduce, everyone. Today is May the 13th. May is almost halfway over. That's incredible. It's going so fast. I'm Christian Cano. I want to welcome everyone to Coffee and Ponduce who's joining us on Facebook Live, but also those who join us on YouTube later and also on Facebook as well. We are in phase 1 of the stay-at-home order in North Carolina, and we will be talking about that, but also talking about maybe going into phase 2 and all that stuff. So as we normally do, so I can share us on this other computer here with all this technology. We're going to go around and you introduce yourself and tell me if I'm looking at it wrong, but if I look at the Facebook screen, I can't look at the Zoom screen. If I look at the Facebook screen, we have Baby Trump, Jenny, Mama Ruth, Barbara Bacon, and Rachel. So introduce yourself and any button you have.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Jenny-Jaymes Gunn. I am a coordinator for Charlotte Trans Pride and Charlotte Film Festival Real Out. I also have a button for the National Organization of Women, which I'm a board member of. And of course, Moms Demand Action and gun sense laws. We definitely need it. And most importantly, more than ever, we need Medicare for all. There's not even a question about that. It's not even a debate.
Excellent, Jenny. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ruth Perez. I'm a community advocate. And as Jenny's mentioned, I think we all are in this group and always together and have compromised ourselves on every show for the same reason. We all share our same thoughts. And as she mentioned, I do go for Medicare for all. I do support women's we need definitely gun sense reforms. We need to make that change. I think that's about it for right now. Next. Barbara.
Good morning, I'm Barbara Bacon, and I'm a healthcare advocate here in Charlotte. And right at the moment, I'm helping Judith Brown. She runs a nonprofit for the disabled and is now joined with another nonprofit that helps the homeless. And we're trying to find software for them to run their business.
I'm Rachel Brummert. I am a local filmmaker, and I also work for the FDA. Medicare for all is really important to me, especially somebody who's been through a lot, medically. I try to, share my story and see if it'll, try to help others. And I do that through like filmmaking and speaking.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Rachel. Just to let you know, I don't know if that's on my end, but you are breaking up just a little bit. So I want to thank you.
I'm just going to.
How are you? Yeah, I apologize, everyone, if we're having technical difficulties, but apparently that's kind of the norm with Zoom. So, or with everyone's sucking up all the internet. So I don't know if you guys remember when we all first started staying home and everyone's first started working at home, the internet was slow for a while because everyone was, I don't know, all the magical stuff.
Taking up all the bandwidth, yes.
That's right. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. I had to, how to
Tell me,
word
I'm
that
at I'm the end of the trunk in my neighborhood. I get what's ever left. And some days it sits there and spins. I can be in the middle of a stream and I have to go do something else or read a book or vacuum or something because it takes sometimes hours.
What do you have, Barbara? Who do you have?
Spectrum.
Oh,
They're
okay.
aware. They've been aware of it for 15 years.
Wow. Jenny,
They
you want to say something?
No timeline for switching it to fiber optic. So
they throttle that back. You know, with a lot of those services, they actually can widen or decrease the bandwidth at will from the different.
Buffering. I get that all the time. Yep.
Well,
even though with the bad signals and stuff, I think Spectrum still is one of the best ones so far, in capacity and speed and stuff. So
yeah, I'm just curious. I'm just wondering because I have AT&T. We have fiber optic that they had to dig the lines and all that kind of stuff, and we have the highest 1,000, and so we have like 2 different internets here, just one for the show and one personally. And sometimes you can tell on the show. Sometimes I still have internet interruptions. So. Yeah. We'll see what happens. Okay. And I think it's because I'm trying to use, we have like 10, 15 items on wireless here. So we probably should cut back on everything. All right. Let's salute to Coffee and Panduce. If you have your coffee, which I do this morning, I'm actually drinking coffee. Salute to Coffee and Panduce, everyone. Cha-ching, cha-ching. I can't wait to see y'all again in person. Cha-ching. And I just want to say, you look marvelous, Jenny-Jaymes Gunn. You look marvelous.
I thought I'd go green.
That's a very pretty color. So
it is.
St. Patrick's green.
Yeah, that's a St. Patrick's Day green. So we want to talk about 3 things and probably 4 things now. We want to talk about the unfortunate situation that happened in Georgia. The gentleman that was jogging and was killed. I think he was murdered, but allegedly murdered.
How long ago was that? My kids keep on telling me that that's been a while back. And just learned about it.
Yeah. It actually has. It's one of the controversies about it is, I mean, besides 2 white men gunning down an unarmed black man, is that they're on their 4th prosecutor taking over this case now. The first 3 were inept. They wouldn't further the case at all, no matter how long it's gone. And the 4th one just took over this week. And so, I mean, the mishandling of this case started at the beginning.
Well, she's federal though, isn't she, Jenny? The new one? Isn't she a federal prosecutor?
I believe she's attached to the federal prosecutor's office, but I wouldn't bet my life on it. I do believe she's not.
I think they said that on Chris Como's show last night on CNN. Yeah.
Yep.
She's new on the case. She is African American. I think she's going to have a lot of, more independence, as they look at and as the FBI looks into it, because Georgia doesn't have a hate crime law on the books right now.
Right.
So, for it to be treated as a hate crime, it does have to come from the federal government. In that case, they're one of 4 states that don't have a hate crime bill.
Well, just that we give the person the respect of the name, the gentleman's name is Ahmaud Arbery. And apparently this technically happened in February, to Jenny's point. However, it took the release of the video, this street video that was taken by a 3rd person who said he was not involved in this. He was just, I guess, just recording it. And he said he released the video to kind of clear his friends' names, which I'm not sure how you could, but it ended up turning, anyway, read about it and watch it. Chris Combs done a really good job. He had the gentleman who did the video and his attorney basically, I felt so bad for the
work, wasn't she? He was.
Yeah, well, he was, and his attorney was like Chris was asking him questions like, why were you there? Why were you recording? Why didn't you dial 911? Things like that. And his attorney was like, well, he's a mechanic. He didn't even finish high school, as if though like he's just this little simpleton.
Derogatory?
Yeah. And so Chris Cuomo said, no respect to you and your attorney, but there's a lot of people who didn't finish high school who've accomplished a lot. So just because you didn't finish high school doesn't mean that somehow you're,
Yeah.
anyway. Anybody want to add anything else to this?
Well, it's just hilarious.
Like I said, I just learned about it not too long ago, and then my kids were kind of updating me to it, and they did mention that it was back in February, but however, I guess it was stayed under information. I'm assuming it's more sounded down where it happened than all over the nation. So, I mean, my respect and everything. And yes, we got to talk about it and see the difference, because I understand that it was a color guy, where versus a son and father. It's the same thing as happened about 2-3 weeks ago here with a mother and a son. Remember, with a UPS or Amazon driver, and they just came out of nowhere and just started shooting. So we have to address all those incidents. Next.
Jenny, did you? Yeah, I'm sorry.
I didn't know. But it's one of these things where and especially that neighborhood is a predominantly white or Caucasian neighborhood, and this guy lives in the guy that got murdered lived in that neighborhood and was just jogging, it's when you're a person of color and you live in a predominantly white neighborhood, it's a shame that you can't operate, jog or drive or bike and not worry about getting shot or harassed or, hey, what are you doing here? Type attitude.
But
now, when you mention, it's a white predominant neighborhood. Do you think that we're still living under, especially Georgia, under the discrimination neighborhoods where they're not allowing
segregation?
Yes, segregation.
Yes.
I think so. I think you can do it in innocuous ways. I mean, I think, just by driving up prices, even realtors that most people in real estate are predominantly it's the white people, so they can drive the market. They can suggest other areas for people that are racial minorities, and I think there's a lot of ways of segregating, and we've seen that here in Charlotte, where on the outside of the crescents you see predominantly people of color, and in the center mass you're seeing predominantly neighborhoods dominated by Anglo or white people, and however you want to call it, an invisible fence, whatever, intimidation, but you are seeing major cities in the South still fairly segregated. I mean, it's been that way my entire life, which it shouldn't be. As
I'm not sure, and I wish we had some more individuals on this who maybe. I mean, I know Maya, for example, was on the show last week. Young lady, brilliant, smart young lady, is a social justice kind of activist and so forth. And I've noticed just from my own experience, and Ruth, you can maybe speak, and anyone else who maybe has experienced this, that I've noticed, because I've lived in what I would consider growing up the hood, but the hood that I lived in was very mixed. We had you can look at high school pictures, it was very segregated. So it was more about income there.
Yeah.
It was more about the have and the have-nots, who had the money and who didn't, and whatever. We looked at each other more like, oh, I didn't really, at that time, as I've grown and lived in different neighborhoods, it is about income too. But like, for an example, this neighborhood, it's predominantly white in South Charlotte, Old Providence area, but we have a lot of diversity, or I think a lot of diversity in this area, and it's about income more. It seems like, I don't know economically whether, like, if you're really, really rich, people don't care what you look like as long as you're really rich. If you're kind of like in the middle, that's where it seems like there seems to be more, I don't know, has
Yeah,
it
you're
been-
right. It's all
Mhm.
the way I've grown. It's always been social economic. I mean, whatever
Mhm.
you have, that's the way they're gonna see you.
Mm.
Because I've met people where they don't care who lives in the neighborhood as long
Mhm.
as they're in their high level.
Yeah.
If they're able to buy the place where they're at,
Mhm.
oh, you're my friend because
As long
you're
as you keep that
able-
grass cut.
Yes, you're my friend because you're able to leave where I'm at. So you're at
Yeah.
my level. So yeah.
Well,
But-
here in Raintree, there's the rich side, and then the rest of us are on the other side, so.
Oh.
Are you by the golf? Are you by the golf so I can go and visit you?
Yeah, I live on a 13th tee on Raintree South.
Hey, now
The
we
north
know.
is the rich side.
That's a long place. I drove through there and it's really
Oh, it's pretty though. We have so many
Yeah.
trees. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I pass there on my weekly shopping going to the Arboretum area.
Mhm.
I do want to say they did release a video. We won't spend too much more time on this because I want to talk about women in the stay-at-home order. They did release a video of the gentleman that was murdered going into a house that was under construction. And they released that video to kind of, I think, to kind of say, see,
breaking in.
yeah, he's breaking in and he didn't take anything. He was just looking around. And when I saw that,
Now, do we know if he was a healthy kid, if he was not having any mental issues, any?
no, I mean, as far as we know, I mean,
He
but,
seemed
but,
healthy.
but,
He was running.
but that's what I think people are concerned about, Ruth. And the questions you're asking are the questions that people are asking of the person who got murdered. Why aren't we asking those questions about the person who
Who shot
murdered them?
Yeah.
So it seems
You're
like
right.
the person, the victim is the one who's really kind of thrown under the bus. What did he do wrong? He must have done something. And they have to defend themselves when they're not alive.
Yeah.
Well,
And the persons who killed them, those are the ones we should be, you know.
Well, not only that, I don't see it as bad as that, but I mean, what I'm talking about is that we have a lot of friends and neighbors out there that are suffering or
Yeah.
struggling with mental issues and
No,
nobody.
there was nothing, he was very healthy, nothing,
Yeah, the
nothing,
parents
he was
said
just
that
jogging.
was not
Okay.
an issue,
Okay,
right?
that's good to know. Great.
Did you see CNN last night? They had the owner of the home that he walked into,
Mhm.
and he
Okay.
had webcams.
Okay.
And he knew, the neighbor called him and told him that somebody was on his property. And
Okay.
he looked, and he said by the time he looked at it, Ahmaud was already dead.
Yeah.
And when he looked at his face, he didn't think that that was him, but they have
Yeah.
confirmed that it was him
Mhm.
and that he didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
The person that owns the property didn't want to press charges, didn't really want to be involved.
Yeah.
But because of the police report and all that, he is
Mhm.
now involved, and his lawyer was on with him.
Yeah.
And they were quite open.
Yeah.
He seemed rather hesitant sometimes to make comments, but he did answer questions,
Mhm.
much more forthcoming than the guy who did the video was the night before. But when I turned it off, I had a better understanding of what's going on. But when I was hearing it from other people, it made it seem like they were saying that he stole something from that property. Well, where did he put it? He's
Yeah.
running in jogging clothes, and it wasn't
Yes.
found, and
He
he had
get
no
shot
car.
in the scene. So there were the stuff.
Yeah, he didn't.
What?
When he walked out, he didn't have anything, and they showed it over and over again. So
Jenny, you want to say something real quickly?
Well, and I think it goes back into the same vein that you see in sexual assault cases and typically murder cases where the victim is put on trial.
mhm.
And so you if you can blame the victim, then you can exonerate the offenders or the alleged offenders. And you got two armed white men
Mhm.
waiting ambush style for this young man to be running down the street and
Yep.
and shot him in an execution style shooting. You know, the
Mhm.
guy was unarmed, he was jogging, he hadn't done anything wrong other than he just had the unfortunate thing of jogging while black, and that's exactly what happened, and it's a shame,
I just wanted to say something real quickly, because I didn't realize it until I was watching Chris Cuomo, Barbara, probably the same shows that you watch, night before last. And I had not realized, in the white communities that I have lived in, which is probably the majority almost all my life, it is not uncommon when someone is doing construction work or a new home is being built, for us just to walk around just to see what's going on. It is it's very common. Oh, it looks like they're redoing their home. I actually, on our way to our in-laws' house in Lincoln County, there was a house that was for sale. We went into one of the windows, walked into the house, looked around. It was an old historic house. And I was a little nervous, because I was like, if they arrest anybody, it's going to be me. But my in-laws, who are old white people.
Not unless there's a sign saying no trespassing.
That has never stopped them. That has never stopped them. But I realized, as a person of color, because I never really felt like I was of color until I moved to North Carolina, quite honestly. It wasn't until I moved here that I had started to second guess myself and go, hold on a second. It was before, it was like, there was nothing. Yeah, it was nothing. But here it was like, I have to be a little careful. I can't just be doing those kind of things. But so, to the point of, there's a lot of new houses being built or whatever. There are people who walk around all the time and just walk in and look around to see, because they just want to see if any ideas, they want to see how their kitchen's looking. And so apparently, if you're a person of color, that's not something that you should. And so there is that double standard. I don't know if anyone has ever done that before. Is that just me?
Oh,
yeah, it's pretty. You see it on construction sites all the time.
Yeah,
people naturally curious. I mean, that's human nature.
Yeah.
But then again, goes back to, if you are visibly different and you stand out, you do have to be. Unfortunately, you do have to be more aware of your situation. You being openly genderqueer, openly trans. I'm very aware of where I'm at all times when I'm out in the public. I very much check my 6 all the time. And so it's just one of those things. If you stand out, you better be smart about it, and not to blame the victim in the shooting, but it's just reality.
Well, I do want to jump to our next segment real quickly, because I forgot to introduce our Ponducci sponsor, but I don't know if anyone else has anything else they want to say about this topic.
I'm good.
Well, in that case, it is obviously it's ongoing. The federal prosecutor has now taken over the case, so it is. We'll see what happens, but it's one of those things where, unfortunately, it's in a very unfortunate situation, and it highlights the inequities of a young person of color, a young Black man specifically, jogging, doing what we are told to do, what all of these stay at home, all of these reopen crazy people saying, we need to do our rights, we have freedoms, the government can't keep us at home, we need to go to the parks. He was doing what they are saying to do, he does it, and he gets killed. Whereas you have these guys with all these guns, these white guys with these guns on the state capitol, going into subways and whatever, and they're not shot. So it is, I don't know.
Double standard.
They were literally in the face of the law enforcement officers. Exactly. Screaming at them with huge weapons, and not even pepper sprayed or tased or nothing to arrest, nothing. That's amazing. A person of color do that, or a trans person do that, they would have clacked us up. I mean, they probably would have. They would have turned the cameras off first and then shot us.
Exactly. No, I've said before, and I've tried to tell young activists there living in Charlotte, what I've learned is, if you're ever going to have a protest or a march, always have some old white women, because the police will not mess with you. They will not mess with you if you have old white women there. They'll just kind of stand alone. If you don't, they will do things. And I've been in marches where they have actually done things to people. But I've been to women's marches, and the women have knocked signs down, and I'm like, my God, I can't believe they get away with this. So I'll take Barbara with you. So, all right.
There we go. Well, don't worry, I can be a fighter.
Yes, I'm sure you can. Well, let's move to another topic. Let's talk about how are the stay-at-home order or phase one or any of this has affected women, or has it affected women differently? I have this theory that I'll let you guys, but before then, I do want to thank our Dulce sponsor that I always forget to do in the very beginning. Manolo's Bakery, yes, it's still left over from Cinco de Mayo. Manolo's Bakery on Central Avenue. Please go there for tres leche cakes, pan dulce, tamales, all wonderful stuff. Manolo's Bakery on Central Avenue, please visit there. All right, women, we have an all-women panel here, and Baby Trump, who now has his Baby Trump toilet scrubber. I don't know if you can see it in his hand.
I see it now.
Yeah, I put it there after you guys said that. Tell me how you think in 45 seconds or less, how this has impacted maybe women differently than it has impacted men. Who'd like to start?
Let's start with Rachel.
I know it impacted. I mean, I'm speaking about people that I know that are women that work, that are used to working, going out of the house. It has impacted them because they had 3 to 4 houses to clean a week. They're not able to survive on that. They're not able to go and do their job because of what's going on. A lot of the hotel ladies also had cut down their hours. One, because of their hours cut down, but then also school interfere a lot because they don't have no babysitting. They don't have no one to watch their kids, and they can't afford to pay a daycare for that. So it's a big impact for them.
Yeah, with the schools closing, they've been closed since, in Union County, they've been closed since, before March 13th, because we had the water problem the day, 2 days before. And then by that Monday, North Carolina had already shut down the schools. So they've literally been out of school for 2 months now, and will be out of school till the fall. And it's impactful. And for, children and young adults, even college kids, having to go back home because they've closed all the dorms at the colleges, and trying to figure out how to do online classes. And parents, obviously, and especially moms, which are typically the caretakers in most families, have had a tremendous impact on family lives.
There's an increase in domestic violence too, since I know I've been especially concerned with that, because that's part of some of the work that I do. Something that really jumped out at me was that I think it was on CNN, and women were showing pictures of what happened to them during the stay-home order, where there wasn't domestic violence, and they're showing there's like bruises all over them, and so they were putting a visual to what's actually happening behind closed doors.
My next door neighbor is a teacher, and she has got 2 small children. So she's home every day, and they're a really good, close family, but their little 2-year-old boy is a handful, and I feel sorry for her every day. But there's outside time, and then there's inside time. And one day I came outside to do something else, and she was sitting on her porch, and I said, "Mary Alice, how you doing?" She goes, "It's nap time, thank God," And I'm like, I feel so sorry for her, because the husband can work from home. So some days he's home, but he's working. So she still has the responsibility of the kids. But Mother's Day, she had the day off. So she was really happy. But, I can't imagine it all day long. I feel sorry for him. I really do.
Well, imagine she has a husband. Imagine all these single women that are
I
not
know. I have a niece that's a
Survive.
single, and she's like not doing a very good job right at the moment. My 2 sisters have had to step in and take the kids for a day because she just can't handle it anymore. And
Jenny, you wanted to jump in?
Well, I think, it's just in general, if our society gets an extra burden put on us, like COVID-19, for example, women are always going to be more adversely affected, whether it's climate, whether it's environment, whether it's economic. Women are always get a higher impact, and because we have less resources than men do, and so it gets put on our shoulders,
Well, here's the good news. I do believe, and of course we won't know until this is over and we look back, and historians and psychologists and sociologists and everyone will look back at this. our stay-at-home orders in North Carolina, I believe, and maybe in other states, would never have been able to have occurred or had to have been successful. We hope it's successful without women, because I believe there was a very big difference when people's lives and kids and health were at stake. The mama bears and everyone came out, and it was the women on social media that were saying we need to stay at home. They did not get that upset when we canceled schools and those kind of things, because I think they understood this as a health issue and they wanted to protect and the men, generally, I'm going to generalize, the men usually in this instance, when it's this in their family, they default to the women's decision. They default to them. And so I do think that the women, because of their political impact and because of the role they play in the families, that they're the reasons that we are staying at home, because had they not bought into or agreed with the governor and so forth, then we would not have been able to stay home. And so I do thank them so much because of the sacrifices they have made, because we've all been on Zoom calls, and when we talk about kids staying at home, it's always the mothers saying, the kids are at home. You never hear the dads saying,
Right. Very few.
it's bothering me at work. I can't get any work done. It's the women who are saying that. And I always yell and go, why can't you take care of the kids? Why can't you do it for 8 hours and have her do, switch and this? My cousins who live in Texas, and we have our Zooms every Sunday, and they're talking about taking care of the kids, and it's hard to work. My niece, who has a little boy, who turns 3 today, by the way, and she's talking about taking care of things. And I said, Mija, why don't you do 4 hours? He take care of them for 4 hours. I mean, it's not just your burden to take care of the kids, but I guess, it depends on the home and so forth. But that's my 2 cents.
On Mother's Day, and the last comedian, I'm forgetting her name, but she was like, I have to go to the bathroom and I have to take my baby with me.
Yes.
Like when
she was really good.
Saw this privacy, and she goes, no, that's not how parenting works. If you're watching the kid, you're watching the kid, I always find it funny when I hear a dad say, well, I'm gonna babysit my kid. I'm going, you're not babysitting your kid, you're parenting your kid.
Yeah.
And I think our society, and again, I think COVID is the great filter. It really shows our inequities in our society and our flaws, and it's like a giant reflecting mirror saying, this isn't right. We shouldn't be even talking about this in 2020.
Yeah, maybe I look at it from a different perspective, because I was raised by a single dad since I was in 4th grade. My dad raised 4 kids. The 2 youngest were 1 and 2 years old, and he raised us until he remarried when I went into college. And so I look at it from the dad was my mom, so to speak, played both roles in kind of that way. So I don't know. I just think I have so much, which is why I always like to wear anything I can to support women, because apparently I'm a male feminist, and well, no, I don't think it's bad. But I'm pro-life, and we will have a show on that, by the way.
Good.
I'm just gonna say when we're a person, so that way we can look at each other in the eye. But I'm pro-life, but I believe in all life. So I believe in a woman's right to make that decision. And there are many Catholics I grew up Catholic, who are pro-life, but they also believe a woman has a right to contraceptives. A woman has that right. So I think you can chew gum and walk at the same time. Anybody want to add anything about women before we switch to the next topic?
I'm good.
I'm good.
Okay. All right. Well, then I just want to say, as I just compliment women, let me throw a little wrench. I got in so much trouble in this home when the schools were first canceled. And I did see some women on television say, I don't have a babysitter, kind of like what Ruth was talking about. And then I thought to myself, are there people that actually see schools as a babysitting instead of as an education? And that really concerned me, because it does seem like there are a lot of parents. First of all, I don't believe everyone should be parents, but I do believe that there are some parents who they use the school system as their babysitter instead of as an educational system.
Oh, yeah.
Does Anybody want to comment on that? Because I got in
Not
so
only
much
as
trouble
their,
for saying
not
that
only
here.
as their babysitter, but as their trainers from school,
Yep.
from home. Also, they see it as their free time. Oh, my kids are in school. I get to enjoy, because when they're here, they're a mess. They don't know
Yep.
how to enjoy their kids.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Well, I think again, I think this kind of thing reveals the flaws or the weird distribution issues that we have in equity in our society, because a lot of people use the schools, especially the meal programs and the Title I schools as, to feed their kids and all that, because they don't have enough money to go around. And there is so many issues that are bubbling to the top because of COVID, because we have nothing else to talk about. We have lots of stuff. I mean, you have 14.5% unemployment nationwide, the highest since the Great Depression. And so we all have time on our hands, and we can analyze everything 24/7.
Right.
Which is why this show is doing so well. But
Jenny, when you mentioned the free meal and stuff like that, I remember when I was growing and in Texas, we lived in the public housing, the courts they called, and I remember families would get their food stamps and their their government help. Some women's, I mean, I really hate to say this, but some women's would all go and sell their kids' food to get their habits. And it's very sad that we're facing here. I've noticed that here it's going the same way, where they rely a lot on the help that the government or the school provides. And that's why they get upset when there's no school, because they need that food for their kids. But yes, they get the help, but they don't take advantage of it. They go and spend it somewhere else instead of buying it for their kids.
Yeah, but Ruth, the women that I heard complaining, and the reason I said this, were not the poor women. It was the wealthy women in this neighborhood that I live in. They were upset because they couldn't do their yoga. They couldn't play tennis.
They don't deserve to be parents. They're just having.
Well, no, that was my point. That was my point. They were like, they have nannies, or they have. And they're the ones that you see in Starbucks.
Oh, you're right. The nannies can't come to the house, if that's not an essential work.
And so when I heard yesterday, Dr. Fauci was doing his testimony in front of the Senate, and when I heard Paul Ryan talk about how the local communities need, first of all, local communities do, he doesn't really understand how it works. The federal government can't tell school districts what to do. The counties and the states tell the school district. Dr. Fauci has no input on that. He can give guidance, but obviously it's the county and the state that make that decision. So whenever the county and the state makes the decision, he was like, well, all these poor kids are going to be set back, as if though he is like concerned about poor kids, first of all, and then first of all, like he is the champion of kids of color, Paul Ryan, whatever his name is, Rand Paul, that's his name, Rand Paul.
Yeah. He was obnoxious.
Oh, he was just arrogant. And I'm a Democratic libertarian, so I like him in a lot of areas. But this is what I was talking about. This was not the fight to fight politically. If you're a politician and you're one of those, you're not the boss of me, stay at home, government overreach, there are times to fight those battles. This is not the fight, because people, the mama bears and the people who are concerned about safety and the health of their grandparents and all this kind of stuff, you come across as crazy to them. Right. We really think some libertarians are tinfoil people. That's Jenny has told us about that. But this comes across as even crazier than that. And so this is the time, like Matthew Ridenhour, I've noticed he would normally be one of those persons, but he's been really quiet because he's running for county commission again. And I know he's posted some things and that could be kind of tinfoil, whatever, but he hasn't really commented on those things. And this is smart, because you can still say, hey, I believe in liberty, I believe in freedoms. This is a very unique situation. This is a time for us to protect people and to be a leader, not to be a noise.
But he also has small children too.
Yes.
So that might be an overriding factor, because there's people that I know that would be very outspoken. But when you put their children in the mix, they become different people. And I
Yes.
think back to our last conversation,
Mhm.
the wives have a lot to say about that.
Yes.
Shut up. I don't want to hear that, you know, and I just thought Rand Paul was totally rude. I thought Richard Burr was rude,
Mhm.
but overall, because I watched the whole thing, even though they went over an hour,
Yep.
blah, blah, blah. But anyway,
But I think too.
I was surprised at how some of the Republicans just distanced themselves.
Mhm.
And then when I was talking to Art last night, he goes, well, Barb, they're worried about running for reelection. I'm like, oh yeah, I wasn't thinking in that mindset. I
Yeah.
was just trying to see
Mhm.
state by state what all the issues were.
Mhm.
And really only two of them stood out to be totally obnoxious. And unfortunately they were Republicans, but
Yeah.
it was long, but it was interesting and it
Mhm.
was necessary.
Jenny?
And I think too, if you're railing, against the government and saying, oh, we need to open everything up, you're saying basically the elderly and the young don't matter to you, and
Yeah, let
so
them die. Yeah.
but that it's okay to exploit them for the economic good, and so you're trading human lives for dollars, and there's no other way of saying it, and it's American lives, and
Yeah.
it's a lot of voters. The elderly typically vote the highest percentage too, and they're saying, no, we don't need to open up. We're good. We're going to stay at home and watch Jeopardy. We we don't want y'all coming, and
Yep.
so we're seeing entire nursing homes getting wiped out with this.
Yeah.
Oh,
That is Rachel, do you want to jump in for I didn't mean to pull you in, but as a wife? What do you think, Rachel? We'd like to hear your perspective.
I'm on the advisory committee for the nursing homes, and there's been a lot of conversation, among those of us that are on the committee about the virus is spreading wildly in some of these nursing homes, and we're not really allowed in there right now, because of shutdowns and all that. So it makes us concerned about who actually is speaking up for the elderly who they're in these nursing homes where sickness is just rampant, and people who work there are bringing it home to their families, and it's it's been really concerning. So we're trying to figure out ways to sort of speak up for the vulnerable population, just because we can't go in there and see what's going on. We can't be their voice.
Aren't you surprised that more families aren't being more vocal?
What's that?
Aren't you surprised that more families aren't being more vocal? I would expect to see them.
Yeah.
On
Yeah.
the
I'm
news.
very surprised by that.
Having had family in nursing homes, and I'm glad they're not in there anymore. It scares me to death, and I can't imagine why they're not just furious. Where are they? I don't know.
You're right. I do want to say one thing. I can't wait till we get back at this table again and we're able to have these conversations with each other, and we get our wonderful partner in crime, the man about town, back here at the table, because I always like to hear his perspective, because a lot of times we
This
see
is
it from a
way
different point
than ours. Yes.
Yes, and
Good.
one of the things that one of the things I always find very interesting as a Democratic libertarian, the reason I'm not a complete libertarian is because the one flaw in the libertarians' philosophy is they blame the government. The problem that they don't understand is we are the government. The people are the government. So when you're Rand Paul, and you blame the government, you're blaming yourself, idiot. You're an elected official.
senator.
You're the government.
You're the
And
senator.
so you're hoping that people are so stupid, which there are stupid people, that they don't realize we're the government. It's not some mysterious person that came down from Mars. It is us who is the government. So that's why the Democratic part of me is still here, or part of my political views, is because I'm smart enough to know that we are the government. Not to say that and that's going to come across wrong. But when we blame the government, when we do those kind of things, we are the government. People are the government. you are, when you're an elected official and you're
So
blaming
that
the
means
government.
that we're the blamed that are sitting in those chairs trying to
Yeah.
represent us. We did
Mhm.
wrong by choosing them
Yes.
to be out there.
Or
I hope we
unfortunately,
learn.
minority, and we didn't vote them in, and then they
Yeah.
need a check and balance, but.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know if I kind of went off on a rampant there. Phase one, we're currently in phase one right now. Has that changed anyone?
No,
No,
It's
I see more people now out there.
I can't go
Making
out
it
because
worse.
I'm over 65, so I'm supposed to.
Oh.
stay home.
Well,
And I do.
I-
I think that's my job to stay
I mean,
home.
I drove by a neighborhood yesterday, and to me, I mean, I've seen so many families playing in the monkey bars and in the, in the playing area. I thought you're allowed
Mhm.
just to walk around the park or walk on the trails, but not get your hands on those metal things
They're
and those
not
swings.
supposed to be
It's
there.
getting
Yeah.
worse.
No.
So
yeah, I mean, I think most of us hope that everyone follows the way you're supposed to, but the reality is there's always going to, we live in North Carolina. This is where NASCAR was born, where bootleggers were born. The people who bucked the system during Prohibition, there's always going to
the
be
highest-
bootleggers.
don't we have the biggest also motorcycle club here in North Carolina, the Rebels or the Living Angels or Death Angels or whatever?
I don't know.
I mean,
Hell's
I don't
Angels.
know. Hell's Angels.
It is. Hell's
I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
I
So,
don't know
so
where it's from.
So I understand that Dr. Cohen, I saw her, I think on Monday doing their press conference, and she said that we don't know when phase two is going to start, but she said she went out in Raleigh and she was not impressed. She said that people were not following the stay-at-home order. I have seen people, I think people, when I see families, like I saw a family at one place, I go shopping on Tuesdays now, and I went and I saw the two kids with masks, and I wanted to go up and tell the mom, thank you, like just kind of like, but I didn't want to be the creeper, and whatever. And then and then I saw these three kids, this lady was doing self-checkout, and these three kids were sitting all over the self-checkout thing with no mask. And I wanted to go up and say, do you need a mask? But then I'd be that person that was punched or something in the grocery store.
I was in Harris Teeter yesterday, and I was stunned by the amount of people that did not have a mask. And for those of us that do, like it looks like we're somehow infringing on their rights or something. It's a little. I'm a little confused about all that.
Well, I think there's a lot of ignorance on COVID and stay-at-home orders. The one big issue is that when we went into the phase one reopening, like we're in right now, it's not because this is over. A lot of people are
But
starting.
people are acting like it is.
but they made it seem like it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a common mistake or a common misnomer to think all of a sudden, New York might be opening up soon, that sort of thing. But it's not a full opening, and this is far from over. Death rate has not even peaked. This is still, and there's still flare-ups. There's still cities that are getting new cases as fast as we were a month ago.
We have one of our viewers, Lynn. Hi, Lynn Marie Slipka. She says East Raleigh and Durham are scary with rising cases. And that's I'm assuming when they say or they mention rising cases, that means that people are going to the hospital or getting checked. But can you imagine all the ones that are not being tested for that?
There's a lot.
And they're
There's a lot of people. Yeah, there's a lot of people who are refusing to go to the hospital. Like they're dying because they're so terrified to go to the hospitals now.
Yeah.
Still.
And they're not, and I mean, they probably have the symptoms and they take it as a regular cold or a regular flu because it's the normal season of allergies, and they're not understanding they're spreading the virus to others.
Well, I did want to say this observation. Once again, this is not scientific, but where I was doing my grocery shopping yesterday, my weekly grocery shopping, I go early, so that way there's minimal people.
You're not a senior.
Yeah, I know, but not early. I mean, like.
So
Like
you're
between 1 and 2 o'clock. Between 1 and 2 o'clock.
Oh,
I did notice the people that had all of the people of color had masks on. The people that I saw without masks were middle-aged white women.
Thank you, because I don't, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I go to the grocery store, I don't put on a mask, and I have my mask.
You don't have one?
Why is
I
that?
do. I do.
Why
But
don't you wear one?
Why don't
I
you?
haven't been wearing one because it's like I don't get near no one. I don't even have contact with no one. I'm by myself.
Well,
But when you're in a confined building,
Oh,
they're
well,
recommending that you wear one just to keep, in case you have it, to keep you from giving it to somebody else.
yes.
like if I'm
yourself,
gonna
too.
faint, to be honest, that's why I prefer not to go out at all because I feel that I can't breathe. I'm gonna faint, so I'd rather not wear it.
Oh, I understand what you're saying because your mask is trapping the carbon monoxide. So you need a mask with a filter.
Probably.
Yeah, you need,
Or
I have the same
A
problem.
bandana so you
Or
can. breathe
bandana or
down.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the we have N95 mask, and because I wear glasses, it fogs up the glasses and all the carbon
Yeah.
monoxide builds up and it gets really hot.
Yeah.
So you have to put this tissue here to keep the glasses from fogging up. But I've noticed it is harder
To breathe.
Yeah.
to breathe. So there are masks that have the little filter, so it does the carbon monoxide doesn't build up. So no, I understand what you're saying. So
Yeah,
as
so I
Barbara
prefer
said,
not to go out at all.
if you can
And
wear a different type of mask, I've got some that
the
I
only
can
place
give
that
you.
I've been going out to is to Lowe's, but not the inside building,
Yeah.
but the garden, which is open area. I try not to talk. I don't speak to no one at all.
You got to breathe, girl.
Well, speaking is something, but speaking, it's more you spread out if you
Right,
speak
right.
than just breathing normal. So
Yes, I wish we had Dr. B so he could go.
so he can.
uh,
I was like, I'm not a white middle-aged woman, but I still don't wear a mask.
But I think that is part of the problem is that I know that I don't have it, so I'm that it's
yes.
I can go ahead and do this. But
I feel safe. That's what you mean.
yes, but the thing is, if you have people coming and going in your house,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
one of your son's friends ended up
Mhm.
having it, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
You would not know.
Father.
So unless your entire family's been quarantined for the last 2 and it's not out at all,
Oh,
you
we
don't,
been.
you don't have it in your house.
Yeah.
And so we one of my roommates goes out. We shop once a week. And every time that you have somebody from your house go out of the house and come back in, the 2-week clock starts all over.
Right.
Starts all
again.
over again.
Yeah.
Rachel, you want to say
Great
something?
idea to see it. Thank you, Jenny. I never thought about it. So we should, be counting the right way. Yeah, you're right. Thank you.
Mhm.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you guys know this or not. Like that. I mean, this virus is airborne. There's no question about that. But I actually the health department traced mine back to a keypad at the pharmacy. So the things that you touch when you go grocery shopping, if you put in your PIN number, if you're a silent carrier, you're giving that virus to someone else. So I respect your wishes with the mask, but it's I've had COVID, and I can tell you these are such easy things that we're asking people to do to not spread the virus.
I do think that this is going to take, because we know we haven't gone into the second phase. We know it's going to get worse, that we're going to have another peak and so forth. So I do think this is a time where influencers, and I would consider everyone on this panel and people we've had on the show influencers, we step up and we have to accept the responsibility of being an influencer, and we have to wear a mask in public, just as our president should wear a mask in public. Because it may be irritating.
I have Secretary Colette Austin asking me and saying, Ruth, we love you, wear your mask. Ma'am, I will make sure that upload a picture with my mask today so y'all can believe me. I do have masks. My kids have masks. My grandson, he doesn't go out with me without a mask. I just can't because of my breathing. But I'll make sure and look up. I'm gonna have to look up for the one that Chris is recommending me with a filter. And the best thing is that I try not to go outside. I rather stay here.
Well, Ruth, I'll give you one. I ordered some. They've just taken a long time because they're coming from China. But I ordered some. I also ordered a bunch of other ones like very inexpensive ones. And when I get them, if I see someone without a mask, I'm going to say, would you like a mask?
Yeah.
And so thank you, Colette, because Colette has a wonderful diplomatic way of saying things, because I would have said, girl, put your damn mask on.
But where's your mask?
Don't make us break.
We love you too, Colette, and thanks for your concern.
She basically told you, bless your heart, girl.
We love you. That's the color slang now. I like that one. Lynn is also mentioning that 3/4 of ICU beds are being taken hearing. So that's very, very to think about. Yeah.
Well, and one really important point is the video that you shared, Christian, in our chat yesterday with Matthew McConaughey, and
yes,
his point is the masks, the gloves, the gear. All we're doing is buying the scientists and the doctors time to come up with ways to, come up with the medications to either slow this down, inoculate against it. We need to buy them time, because the more time we buy them, the better our society will do in the long term. Otherwise, we ain't getting rid of this. If our society gets to where we can track this at a 30, 40, 50% rate, a lot of people are going to die, because we won't have the ability, capacity to handle that. It'll destroy our economy for a long, long time.
And to Dr. B's point that he's been making, and probably all of us have been making, that's why it's so important that I know that it's no one's fault that we don't have tests. I do believe whoever's in the leader should be pushing testing and so forth. But because this is an invisible enemy, as Trump likes to call it. It's an invisible enemy. The best way to uncover an enemy is to find out where it is, to put some dye on it or to put something on it. And until we can test everyone, the White House gets tested every day. Even being tested every day, they have people who are catching COVID-19. Right. Yeah. So imagine that. So imagine us who aren't being tested every day. What makes us think that we are more better luck than the White House? Right. So we need to get testing available to us, and if it means every day, that might be pushing it.
Here in North Carolina, I heard 2 days ago, I heard on the news where there is a company doing testing for business owners.
Yes.
And their employees that are not, they don't have to have the symptom, but the employer has to bring all their their people.
Well, money.
Of course.
There was a school doing that. Wasn't one of the colleges doing that? I don't know if it was UNC or what school it was.
I think it was UNC, the one that was doing, but I guess they're down into a, I know it's Atrium doing this for companies. Of course, that's money building each other.
Well, quite honestly, I would like to get tested just because I'd like to know, because I do think it does make a difference if because I think it would make a difference for you, Ruth, if you were to get tested, let's say, and then you had realized that maybe you would think of it differently than when you're not being tested. The problem is I'm almost afraid to go to my Trying Medical Group and get tested, because my insurance is only going to pay for one test, and I need the test again or whatever. So we need free testing. This is such a unique situation.
Well, and that's the problem, that it's not being free. So that's why a lot of people are not trying to go and get tested.
Exactly.
And also by being tested, it also gives you, what is that called? That if you had it and you end up having the antibody.
Yeah. So we're going to be closing down, but Jenny wants to say something.
One important thing though is I don't want to encourage people to run out and get tested just to be able to. I really think that if all, first of all, in place if you have the privilege to be able to do that, like here on the call. The second thing is, if you do have to go out, protect others, as much as within reason. And the third thing is, don't go to medical facilities unless it's absolutely necessary, that you are we don't need mass testing, just for curiosity's sake. Our medical facilities are already strained. The workers are already fatigued. They're at a point. You're seeing breakdowns, suicides.
But Jenny, don't you think? Yeah, Jenny, sorry to interrupt you, but don't you think that's the problem? The problem is, I agree with you what you're saying, The problem is we have a president of the United States that's telling people anyone can get tested. That's what he's saying. But he won't admit that there aren't enough tests. And so if he just be honest with people and say anyone can get tested, but right now, because we're trying to get those tests out, we don't have the tests. So until we get all those tests, please wear a mask, please practice social distancing, these kind of things. And so there's this mixed signal. There are people who are looking for an out that say, the president said anyone can get tested.
So you're discussing two different things. First of all, mass testing is one of the steps to doing the mass reopenings.
Yeah.
The things the CDC and the World Health Organization lines out is
Testing and then the contact tracing, or it's not doing you any good.
Yeah.
Right.
I didn't hear you.
If you're not following the testing with contact tracing, when you find that positive and finding out who that person went to and isolating them, we're defeating the purpose of testing. And that's our big problem. We did not have the contract tracers even when every state started all the testing. So really, I consider those wasted tests other than in a hospital setting. What good did it do? We didn't trace to find out where it came from. But going forward, that's what we absolutely have to do.
Yeah, and having, I think what the public needs to know is that people don't need to run out and get tested and flood the medical system.
The thing about testing, Jenny, is the president, if you watch the news like it seems like we all have been doing, they caught him in the Oval Office saying, well, we don't want him to test anymore because we're going to look bad.
He doesn't want the numbers to go up. Yeah.
So the states are going to do that anyway, so I don't care if he looks bad. I'm sorry, but I don't.
Well, first of all, the reality is no corporation or no businesses are going to require their workers to come back to work and be relieved of the liability unless they can provide testing. Right. They're not. And that's what they told the president during the roundtable last week. He said, tests are not a problem. Tests are not about this. And the CEO of Hilton, who was sitting 6 feet away from him, said, tests are a problem. We need to test people because you can't have people come to work unless you know whether they have it or not. And if you don't do that, then you're liable for what occurs. So we do need testing. It doesn't mean that people are going to run to hospitals. It just means that people need to know whether they need to be self-quarantined or not. And the only way they know that is if they know they've been tested for it. So we're running out of time. Yeah, go ahead. Jenny?
I think that there's 2 senators that are trying to push through a blanket bill for businesses saying you're immune from any liability.
Exactly.
And
I said that 3 weeks ago. Remember, I said that 3 weeks ago, and Jenny said that'll never happen.
The bill is being drafted as we speak.
Okay, Jenny, 30 seconds because we got to sign off.
I'm basically, if we're wanting to go to the next phases, the employers, when they're doing their callbacks, will have to go by the CDC guidelines, and they're very specific.
And they want
check for a fever, that there is ritualistic testing done, and so every time you clock in, there is a screening process.
But also keep in mind that it's not only adults, fevers and stuff. Now we're facing kids, different symptoms like dry lips, swollen faces, skin irritation. So I don't even know what to think about it anymore. Because I mean, if we're being enforced to get tested, what about our kids? Our kids should also be tested.
Oh, okay. We need to close. This has been a wonderful conversation. I do want to say that just 3 quick things that I do hope everyone wears masks when they're out, especially the influencers, because we have to change the climate. We have to make it hip for people to wear masks. We need some type of push from influencers and elected officials. We need to see our mayor out wearing a mask. We need to see people those kind of influencers out wearing a mask, people in our communities. Ruth, you're an influencer within our Latinx community. We need you out there wearing a mask. We need Jenny wearing a mask. We need people to post pictures of themselves wearing masks, so that way it is something that is acceptable. It's something that, we want the cool kids to wear the mask and the idiots to not be wearing the mask. Second thing is, I do want to let everyone know who follows college football that TCU signed the #1 running back coming out of high school this week. So it's our very first 5-star signee, and we produce a lot of professional running backs that go into the NFL. So I'm very, very excited about that. And then lastly, today is a person's birthday. This young man here turned lives in Tampa, Florida right now. So today is his birthday. I wanted to shout out, give a personal privilege to happy birthday, Jackson. We will see you today when we do our family Wednesday Zoom meeting. So he looks kind of like me, except he's got bigger, beautiful eyes and dimples and all that kind of stuff. So everyone, tell us where you're going to be. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget Saturday, our show, as long as we're still in stay-at-home order, we'll be doing the Saturday shows until we can get back together on Wednesdays. And I'm hoping to be able to fit into a suit or some not war pants in 8 weeks. I don't know how long it's been, y'all. I don't know about y'all, but I have not worn a suit. I know I can't put a cowboy hat on. Can you see this? That it won't fit. I think I've gone up 2 sizes with cowboy hats. So tell us where you're going to be. Jenny, you look flawless. We will go around. We'll go with Jenny, Ruth, Mama Ruth, Barbara, and then Rachel. Please.
Well, tomorrow night, of course, I'll be watching Barely Funny, produced by Lauren Ansley. And then starting Monday, Charlotte Pride's Week of Entertainment begins, and I'll talk about that more on Saturday. Okay. But it does begin Monday the 18th and runs through that next Saturday. So 6 nights, 7 different genres of entertainment for free for the public. Just go on the Charlotte Pride's Facebook page.
Great. Thank you. I want to shout out to all our audience. Thank you for connecting and sharing our page and our lives. Lynn, Secretary Colette, Sean Thompson, thank you. Also to our close friend, Tara Long. She finally connected and she said, hello, friends. Thank you, everyone. And Alejandro, thank you for stopping by. I'll be at home doing a lot of garden. Yesterday at Sun Valley High School, yeah, it was high school. Sun Valley High School decided to give away all their plants. All the students, I guess, they were doing their experiments, vegetables, flowers. So I got a whole bunch. I was not being greedy. He just told me to go ahead because they were gonna die. So a lot of us.
Quick question, Ruth. Did you cover or water your plants Saturday night?
I didn't do none of the above.
It didn't even freeze. It didn't even, we had all that big conversation, didn't even frost. All right, I'm sorry.
Nothing happened. My plants are beautiful. I'll be making a video on the things that we're doing outside. I gotta go and get more dirt. I spent about 25 bags of dirt already. And I bought more. Yeah, because I'm doing a garden in the back. I'm doing a veggie crops in the back. And then my husband did a big old stand for plants. I'll show y'all. And then I'm fixing my area in the front. So I'll be working on that. And I promise y'all I'll be wearing my mask. Take pictures to influence my community. Thank you, Mr. Cano. And thank you, everyone. I hope y'all have a great week and see y'all Saturday.
Okay.
Sorry, Ruth.
Since I was cut off.
I will be in my house as well. And I'm going to continue my search for a software package that helps Judith and her 2 nonprofits and James as well. And I also am gardening, but I'm almost done. I'm sick of it, quite honestly. I need to do something else. Rachel?
I'm going to do some filming over the next couple of days and for next week. So I'm working on 2 documentaries. One of them is about sexual assault. It's called 73 Seconds. And then I'm also doing a short documentary about COVID. So I'm going to be interviewing over the next 2 weeks for that by way of Skype so that, we don't have to come in contact with each other.
Awesome.
Amazing.
Other
That's
woman,
great.
Jenny?
Jenny?
What?
Jenny?
Can't hear you.
Girl, you're next.
I already
No
talked.
one. Everybody already went.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm
Not unless
looking at
you
my
want
Zoom.
baby.
I'm
Not
sorry.
unless you want
All
baby
right.
Trump to speak.
Yeah, he's going to be cleaning toilets this week and so forth. Speaking
By
of
the
that, have
way,
y'all
tell
seen?
your niece. Hey, by the way, tell your niece she has a beautiful little boy. Wish him the best, and he does not look like you. Okay.
Yeah, I know he doesn't.
He's much
Yeah.
cuter.
Oh, well, you didn't see me when I was a baby. Okay, I see your mijo right next to you. Hello. All right. If you're on the Zoom call, stay on. We're going to disconnect with Facebook, and then I want to thank you personally for joining us. But thank you, everyone. We'll see you on Saturday, and then we'll